If you won't do this and won't do it consistently, people just won't watch your content because... Welcome to Content Trends 2022. I'm sure you've seen a lot of trend videos and a lot of people talking about the upcoming trends at YouTube and content and just generally everything. But this video isn't the same as those because I've seen, read, and listened to every single content prediction bringing the top 5 things you can do to make your video content better in 2022. So let's keep it short and sweet and start with number 1. Your content does not have to be above 6 foot because short form content is going to continue to dominate in 2022. Cloudflare have actually shown that TikTok is the most visited website of 2021 over Netflix, Facebook, and Google, the search engine. Also, I don't know if you've noticed all the other social media platforms coming up with their own completely original versions of TikTok. Bottom line is, short form content is here to stay. Because what would take multi-million production studios to do only takes a teenager and their smartphone now. And if you want even more proof, look at long form podcasts. Due to the lack of discoverability on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, they have resorted to creating clips and adding those clips to YouTube for more discoverability. So if you're a creator or a business, make a 20-second video. You never know who's watching. And speaking of who is watching, this brings me to my second trend. Niche communities are bigger than they've ever been. If you're a plumber, if you build Lego, or if you restore old knives and want to make content about it, there is an audience out there for you. If you like something, the likelihood that someone else out there or an audience out there likes what you like is very, very high. Over lockdown, we saw people who had regular jobs posting content and building an audience because of it. We've also found people who've reverted back to old hobbies when they were kids, like Pokemon cards, and equally built strong audiences because of it. The two main reasons people were able to build these communities is they were really passionate about what they do, and that made the content stand out, but also there isn't enough niche content out there. So the rule is, if you like something, there's probably a community out there for you. And if not, you can be the first person to build that community. Unless you create an NFT community and convince me that bored seagulls are going to the moon. This third trend won't come as a surprise to most of you, but what is a surprise is how little attention people give it. And it's creating content for mobile first consumption. Whether that be a long form podcast, a short TikTok, or even a thumbnail for one of your videos, you need to make sure that people can easily consume it on mobile. According to Oberlu, more than 70% of YouTube watch time comes from mobile devices. So if you don't do this and do it consistently, people just won't watch or consume your content because there's always content out there that caters to mobile first. Imagine you're scrolling through YouTube and you've got all of these tiny thumbnails that you can barely read, but right next to it there's this amazing thumbnail that just caught your attention. You're more likely to click on that video. Even if the other video was an amazing piece of content, you just wouldn't know, because one thumbnail catered to mobile first. And the more you think of these tiny details, the more you distinguish yourself from the competition and give yourself a unique selling point. And the most unique selling point of all is our fourth content trend. And it's probably the easiest way to stand out, but one of the hardest to master. And it's telling stories. Content has gone through several iterations, but the one constant has always been telling stories. And this is important today more than ever. We are wired to engage more with content that tells stories than any other type of content. And the simplest way to turn any piece of content into a story is to add the 3-story structure to it. Having an Act 1, which is the setup where we introduce our story and set up everything from the character to the plot lines to be able to take that audience on a journey. Then as we progress through the story, we move into Act 2, which sees tension building until we reach a climax. Because you need to remember, throughout that story, you're trying to answer one question. And that climax is where our hero faces his biggest challenge ever to answering that question. So the biggest problem that we need to fix happens in the climax. And as we fix that problem, we release all the tension that had been built up through the story, which happens in Chapter 3, the resolution. This is where we solve the climax and come to a conclusion for our story. We learn something as we reflect back at our journey, and all the tension is released. And you can see this in everything from Harry Potter to beginner tutorial videos on YouTube. It's about asking a question that your audience relates to, building up tension to answering that question, releasing that tension, and coming to a resolution. And to be honest, we do this on a daily basis. It's just about practicing it and being able to implement it into our content. And speaking of daily basis, our fifth and probably the most vital content trend is the rise of unpolished content. We saw a bit of this in 2020 and 2021, but now everyone from creators to businesses are getting involved into this type of content. People have realized that the polished nature of what Instagram is today doesn't really appeal to them. And things like TikToks shot from your bed is much more relatable and henceforth much more enjoyable. Because one piece of content pushes you to be quite insecure, but the other one offers genuine human connection. People are looking for real, genuine messages delivered by real, genuine humans. And the creators and businesses that have mastered this have seen the most success. People just want real people on the other side of the camera. Honestly, this video could have been 100 trends, but if you want to see some of these trends in action, I would recommend watching this video about Duolingo and their marketing team and how they've been growing their brand using some of these content trends. I'll see you guys in the next one.